All right, inshallah, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli waj'alni waziratan min ahli Haruna akhi ushdud bihi azri wa ashriku fi amri kay nusabbihaka kaseera wa nazkuraka kaseera innaka kunta bina basira. Allahumma ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ameen. Bismillah. So the seventh ray, the supreme sign. So I'm going to start reading. An important warning and statement of purpose. I think this is some section which the author, before he delves into the topic and introduction, I think he wants us to go through what the statement of purpose is. Just a general introduction of it. So not everyone will be able to understand all the matters discussed in this most significant treatise, but equally nobody will remain portionless. If somebody enters a garden, he will find that his hands cannot reach all the fruit it contains, but the amount that falls within his grasp will be enough for him. The amount that falls within his grasp will be enough for him. The garden does not exist for him alone. It exists also for those whose arms are longer than his. So everybody gets their share from whatever is being imparted. There are 5 causes making difficult the understanding of this book. 5 causes making difficult the understanding of this book. The first, I have written down my own observations according to my own understanding and for myself. I have not written according to the understanding and conceptions of others. I have not written according to the understanding and conceptions of others, as is the case with other books. The second, since the true affirmation of divine unity is set forth in this book in the most comprehensive form by virtue of a manifestation of the Supreme Name, the subjects discussed are extremely broad, extremely profound, and sometimes extremely long. Not everyone can comprehend these matters all at once. So the second, since the true affirmation of divine unity is set forth in this book in the most comprehensive form by virtue of a manifestation, of the Supreme Name, the subjects discussed are extremely broad, extremely profound, and sometimes extremely long. Not everyone can comprehend these matters all at once. The third, since each matter constitutes a great and extensive truth, a single sentence will sometimes stretch out over a whole page or more. In order not to fracture the truth in question, a single proof requires copious preliminaries. The fourth, since most of the matters contained in the book have numerous proofs and evidences, the discussion sometimes becomes prolix through the inclusion of 10 or 20 proofs by way of demonstration. Limited intelligences cannot understand this. The fifth, it is true that the lights of this treatise came to me from the effulgence of Ramadan. Nonetheless, I was distraught in a number of respects, and I wrote the book hastily at a time my body was racked by several illnesses without revising the first draft. I felt, moreover, that I was not writing with my own will and volition, and it seemed inappropriate to rearrange or correct what I had written, according to my own thoughts. This too resulted in rendering the book difficult of comprehension. In addition, a number of sections in Arabic crept in, and the first station, written entirely in Arabic, was removed and made into a separate work. Oh, okay. Despite the defects and difficulties arising from these 5 causes, this treatise has such an importance that Imam Ali, may God be pleased with him, miraculously foresaw its composition and gave it the names Supreme Sign and Staff of Moses. He looked upon this part of the Risale-e-Nur with special favor and directed man's gaze towards it. The Supreme Sign is a true exposition of the Supreme Verse, and it constitutes at the same time the 7th ray designated by the Imam as the Staff of Moses. So there are 2 footnotes. So the events that took place in Denizli fully confirmed the prediction of Imam Ali concerning the Supreme Sign. For the secret printing of this book was the cause of her imprisonment, and the triumph of its sacred and most powerful truth was the main cause of her acquittal and deliverance. Thus did Imam Ali make manifest his miraculous prediction and prove the acceptance of the prayer he had uttered on our behalf. By means of the Supreme Sign, secure me against sudden death. So the prayer from Imam Ali was, by means of the Supreme Sign, secure me against sudden death. And the other one, he says, see page 130, footnote 7. Oh, that is a verse in the Quran. So I guess we can come back to that when we go there. So let me read the last 2. So this treatise consists of an introduction and 2 stations. The introduction sets forth 4 important matters. The first station contains the Arabic portion of the exposition of the Supreme Verse, and the second station consists of the translation of that exposition together with the accompanying proofs. Too much has been explained in the following introduction, but it was not my intention to lengthen it thus. The fact that it was written at this length indicates the existence of a need. Indeed, some people may regard it as too short, despite its length. Signed, Said Nursi. So before we go into the introduction, because this is a new topic and maybe we need some background from, maybe Brother Ali can help us with that if he wants to. Any background?
Who's going to help Brother Ali? Okay, what I would like to say, whatever is saying here, it's a kind of personal experience. We will leave it there to me. Now the background, there's no need for background because it is written for a general purpose. It has no I don't think it has a significant historical background behind it that I remember, or I don't think there is at the same time. So what happened that we pay attention to it, the Supreme Sign, which means Ayatul Kubra. Now, in Arabic, Ayatul Kubra, which is the Quranic word, Ayatul Kubra. I think it is to know the connection between this verse and the title of this book and the consequently content of this work. That is important, because what happens then Moses as asked in the story of Moses, in part of the story of Moses, in the Quran mentioned in this part, because the Quran mentions the story of Moses in many parts, scattered everywhere, almost throughout the Quran. Something 60 or 80 times references given to Moses. Anyway, this is the most frequently mentioned prophet, and examples in his life, parts in his life. Now we have to concentrate on the part which is related to our studies now underhand. So this studies, in this section, God asks Moses, go and tell Pharaoh without fear. And there are lots of stories going on behind it, but when Moses showed Pharaoh فَأَرَاهُ الْآيَةَ الْكُبْرَى, this is the same word. When he showed him the supreme sign, ayat al-kubra, and then Pharaoh turned back. It is better. فَكَذَّبَ وَعَصَى, he belied it, says it is a lie, and rebel against it. Then left and went to his own court. Why? It was so powerful, he couldn't really come with a counter argument. So classical commentaries on the Quran say that Ayatul Kubra, one of the miracles that Moses demonstrated to Pharaoh. One of them is famous, his staff. The other one is his right hand, and the other things that he used the staff in order to go through the sea, whatever it is, and saved his children of Israel, the followers of the revelation, that time Torah. It was Torah. And also many other miracles happened. This famous defeat of the how are they called? The word didn't come to my mind. Magicians. But in this particular case, when Moses went to Pharaoh, he showed the supreme sign. It means the most important miracle. What mercy, and also accepting that, or assuming that Imam Ali also accepted this interpretation, understanding, we can trace the teachings of Imam Ali usually goes along with these lines. Rather than showing prophetic miracles, Imam Ali used to present the miracles of the creation which are taught by the teachings of the prophetic revelation. If you see this correlation now, Imam Ali wasn't a prophet. He wasn't going to present, or he wasn't expected to present a miracle like a prophet, but he brought the miracles manifested in the universe and discovered, or helped human beings to discover from the creation under the guidance of the revelation from God. So we see that this word, miracles, the supreme sign, which Pharaoh was addressed to by Moses, Moses demonstrated it to the Pharaoh. Of course, when we update the understanding of the Quran to our life standards, the Pharaoh of our time is what? Who can guess? Pharaoh of our time is denying the revelation. Anybody, any guess?
Atheism, denial of the absolute truth or source.
Sorry, I couldn't really get Qasim.
I was saying atheism of the or the denial of the absolute source.
So here says materialist philosophers, and you say atheistic ideas, almost the same, yeah, more or less. Now, Pharaoh, atheistic ideas come from where nowadays? Under the disguise of scientific discoveries. Scientific discoveries. It means the atheistic ideas, materialist philosophers, claim that the universe witnesses their theories, their claims. Universe is the witness to materialist philosophy, atheistic ideology. The matter, the universe, is used as a source of authority for their claim. Whatever they claim, they say, here, look at the universe, scientific, not scientific discoveries, but in interpretations of these discoveries by the materialist scientists. Now, we have to bear in mind this, the Pharaoh is now the scientists who interpret their discoveries of the order of the universe in a way that they say this explains the existence of everything, which is based and rooted in the universe itself. Now, Moses came with a counter argument to the Pharaoh, because the Pharaoh was saying, I know everything. My civilization is the highest civilization. I am the most powerful authority or country, whatever the person in the world. So Moses came up with a miracle, challenged all the magicians that Pharaoh depended his idea. I understand that the magicians of Pharaoh were scientists of that time. They were using the matter in order to really manipulate the minds of the people, showing lots of tricky things and saying that, look, we have all the power to control the matter. So their interpretation deviated the witnessing of the universe, and Moses brought to the attention of the people, especially the Pharaoh and his quarter, his elite helpers or counselors, that these evidences were absolutely working for his claim that they are these universe created by an absolute being. So this is the updated interpretation of Moses' in the miracles. But in that time, because Moses wasn't a scientist, but God gave him a staff which swallowed the ideas of the magicians and their tricky interpretation of the creation and claimed that this creation is under our control, we can manage it, and there is no other creator, other source of existence other than we on the authority of Pharaoh. Pharaoh was declaring himself, he is above everything. He owns this land. He administers this land. He is the Lord of this land. That is the narration of the Quran. And Moses said, no, the Lord of this land and everything else is or belongs to the Lord of the universe. That's what the Quran narrates as Rabbul Alameen, whoever created the whole universe. Rabbul Alameen. So what we are going to see now, everything in the universe demonstrates that every single being in the universe is created by the creator of the whole universe. That's what we are going to study. The name is important, supreme sign. The text says, the Nursi has another compilation of the book again, which is called Asai Musa, which means the staff of Moses. Again, the same understanding there. Asai Musa, staff of Moses, was the source of many miracles, and he uses it again, this Asai Musa, as the way that he interprets the universe in the way that the Quran teaches, and it becomes an staff of the Moses to swallow the all false interpretations of the creation of the world, of existing things out there. So that is Nursi's approach in understanding these miracles as updated to our real living conditions. Now, what is going on right now? In his time, when he wrote this book also, it was the case, naturalism, materialism, and materialist interpretation of the universe was prevalent everywhere. So he uses Moses' miracles within the context of his own living conditions. And he presents to us, that's why he said, I wrote it for myself, without thinking the needs of others, in order to convince and purify my understanding and make me feel confident, certain in the conclusion that the universe belongs to the Lord of the whole universe. That's what I would like to say and share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ali. That was really good. Okay, so if anybody has any comment or anything based on what Brother Ali shared, they can ask it by raising their hands or type it in the chat box. So we're going to go to the introduction now, inshallah. So Ayatul Kubra in Arabic, the supreme sign. An interesting take as shared by Brother Ali. According to our conditions, what is our Pharaoh in this time, and what is the Ayatul Kubra for us in terms of proving or challenging the falsehood or the magician or the trickery of the wrong interpretation of creation. All right, so introduction. I created not jinn and mankind except that they might worship me. Quran chapter 51, verse 56. I created not jinn and mankind except that they might worship me. According to the meaning of this mighty verse, the purpose for the sending of man to this world and the wisdom Implicit in it consists of recognizing the creator of all beings and believing in him and worshiping him. The purpose for the sending of man to this world and the wisdom implicit in it consists of recognizing the creator of all beings, recognizing the creator of all beings and believing in him and worshiping him. The primordial duty of man and the obligation incumbent upon him are to know God and believe in him, to assent to his being and unity in submission and perfect certainty. For man, who by nature desires permanent life, that is, immortal existence, whose unlimited hopes are matched by boundless afflictions. Any object or accomplishment other than belief in God, knowledge of God, and the means for attaining these, which are the fundament and key of eternal life. Any such object or accomplishment must be regarded as lowly for man, or even worthless in many cases. So, any object or accomplishment other than belief in God, knowledge of God, must be regarded as lowly for man or even worthless in many cases. Since this truth has been proven with firm evidence in the Risale-i Nur, we refer exposition of it to that, setting forth here within the framework of 4 questions, only 2 abysses that shake certainty of faith in this age and induce hesitation. So, the means for salvation from the first abyss are these 2 matters. The first matter, as proven in detail in the 13th flash of the 31st letter, in general questions. In general questions, denial has no value in the face of proof and is extremely weak. In general questions, denial has no value in the face of proof and is extremely weak. For example, with respect to the sighting of the crescent moon at the beginning of Ramadan the Noble, if 2 common men prove the crescent to have emerged by their witnessing it, and thousands of nobles and scholars deny it, so the common men prove the crescent to have emerged by their witnessing it, and thousands of nobles and scholars deny it, saying, "We have not seen it," their negation is valueless and without power to convince. When it is a question of proof, each person strengthens and supports the other, and consensus results. But when it is a question of negation, there is no difference between 1 man and 1,000. Each person remains alone and isolated. So in negation, each person remains alone and isolated. For the one who affirms looks beyond himself and judges the matter as it is. For the one who affirms looks beyond himself and judges the matter the way it is, as it is. Thus, in the example we have given, if one says, "The moon is in the sky," and his friend then points his finger at the moon, the 2 of them unite and are strengthened. The one who engages in negation and denial, however, does not regard the matter as it is. So now the opposite case of affirmation, where one simply points the finger at the moon and the one who says the moon is in the sky, they unite. So they both affirm by looking at the matter as it is, as the moon being in the sky. And the one who engages in negation and denial, however, does not regard the matter as it is and is even unable to do so. For it is a well known principle that a non particularized denial, not directed to a particular locus, cannot be proven. All right, let's look at the example. For example, if I affirm the existence of a thing in the world and you deny it, I can easily establish its existence with a single indication. So, if I affirm the existence of a thing in the world and you deny it, I can easily establish its existence with a single indication. But for you to justify your negation, that is, deny the existence of that thing, that is, to establish the non existence of the thing, it is necessary to hunt exhaustively through the whole world and even to examine every aspect of past ages. Only then can you say it does not exist and never has existed. Since those who negate and deny do not regard the matter as it is, but judge rather in the light of their own souls and their own intelligence and vision, they can in no way strengthen and support each other. Okay, let's read this again. This is important. Since those who negate and deny do not regard the matter as it is, so do not regard the matter as it is, but judge rather in the light of their own souls, in the light of their own souls and their own intelligence and vision, they can in no way strengthen and support each other. For the wails and causes that prevent them from seeing and knowing are various. Anyone can say, I do not see it. Therefore, in my opinion and belief, it does not exist. Anyone can say, I do not see it. Therefore, in my opinion and belief, it does not exist. But none can say, it does not exist in actuality. If someone says this, particularly in questions of belief, which look to all the universe, it is a lie as vast as the world itself, and he who utters it will be incapable both of speaking the truth and of being corrected. So let's read in short and we can see if anybody has any comment or questions. In short, the result is one and single in the case of affirmation, and every instance of affirmation supports all other instances. The result is one and single in the case of affirmation, and every instance of affirmation supports all other instances. Negation, by contrast, is not one, but multiple. Multiplicity arises through each person saying concerning himself, in my opinion and view, or in my belief, and leads to multiplicity of results. Hence, each separate instance cannot support all other instances. I don't understand what this one is. So multiplicity arises through each person saying concerning himself. So everybody has their opinion, in my opinion and view, or in my belief, and that leads to multiplicity of result. Hence, each separate instance cannot support, yeah, because they're all different, cannot support all other instances. Whereas in affirmation, it is a one and single case of affirmation. Therefore, with respect to the truth with which we began, there is no significance in the multiplicity and apparent predominance of the unbelievers and deniers who oppose belief. With respect to the truth with which we began, there is no significance in the multiplicity and apparent predominance of the unbelievers and deniers who oppose belief. Now it is necessary to refrain from introducing any hesitation into the certainty and faith of a believer. It is necessary to refrain from introducing any hesitation into the certainty and faith of a believer. But in this age, the negations and denials of the philosophers of Europe have induced doubt in a number of unfortunate dupes, and thus destroyed their certainty and obliterated their eternal felicity. So the philosophers who are introducing the Pharaohic ideas have induced doubt in a number of unfortunate dupes, and thus destroyed their certainty and obliterated their eternal felicity. Death and the coming of one's appointed hour, which afflict 30,000 men each day, are deprived of their meaning of dismissal from this world and presented as eternal annihilation. Yeah, death and the coming of one's appointed hour, which afflict 30,000 men each day, are deprived of their meaning, of the meaning of dismissal from this world, and presented as eternal annihilation. The grave, with its ever open door, constantly threatens the denier with annihilation and poisons his life with the bitterest of sorrows. Appreciate then how great is faith and the very essence of life. So that is the first matter in the introduction. Is okay, so I know there was some points about logical reasoning, one would say, of general matters and how what affirmation, how that works versus denial, requires a lot of work in terms of something that is denying a matter as it is, you know, is very difficult to do. Whereas affirmation is something easy. You have a comment?
Yeah, it's an interesting piece, but it's a lot going on here. Well, let's see what Farah has to say.
Farah, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. So, to put it in context, it appears that there's something about this method of reasoning that is important to understand things that shake certainty in faith. So in this context, to Asim's point, I'm not sure if he says that denial is impossible, but what he says is that non-particularized denial is impossible, which maybe, to give an example, maybe if I'd say that there is no chair in the world, for example, that is impossible to prove. Or let's say chair is not a good example, actually. If I say there is no black apple in the world, for me to prove this, I have to go to every part of the world in all times, the times that I haven't lived in, the times that I will of the future, and which is impossible to do. But if I say that there is no black apple let's say in this room, I'm able to do that by, showing that within this room there's no black apple. So as I understand, he's particularly saying that something non-particular circumstances, denial is impossible. But there are many other things. I think this is a very dense paragraph. I'll just say one thing about from the beginning, and I'm sure there are many other ways to address this, is that the example of the moon, that even if, let's say, he says something about like noble scholars or people, like even if, everybody in the world says something, does not make it true, but the fact that you witness something to exist makes it true. And that you and somebody who also witnesses that truth, that experienced witness truth, makes you unite together on this thing that is actually true for both of you. Whereas someone who denies something can deny it, as he says, like based on opinion, and everyone can have a different opinion and there's no consensus. For example, if I say, it's hard to come up with examples, but that, for example, where was this person in the morning? Without, if I want to say, I'm also just sort of making it difficult on myself, but if I want to say that this person was, if I hadn't seen this person and I have to like guess where they were, I'm actually going to stop there. But take it bit by bit. That's it.
Oh, thank you, Farah. Yeah, it's a lot of logic and theory. We need to make sense of this, and I appreciate your example. I'm glad you given the example of black apple, because I was getting really sick and tired of hearing the swans example. So that's good that we're shifting a little bit with things. But I also like you emphasizing on witnessing it, because it's so personal also. Like if I do witness something, then that's it, right? And so it doesn't matter if like the opinions are on others. But I think, it goes back to one's personal conclusion, which really stems from witnessing it and coming to a conclusion. There's a lot he's saying here in terms of negation, and I was also having trouble with negation because I tend to look at negation with a good lens, because through negation I conclude something. So when I negate, this cannot be it, then there must be something. But here, I don't know, maybe the negation, they mean it by then the opposite side of it, the negative of it, like a counter argument to it. Maybe it's a denial. Negation is being used as denial. Okay, good. So that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's some comments from Suhail. So Suhail, if you can take them up, please.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. So, what I took from this, along the lines of what Farah said, distinguishing between particular, as he makes a distinction between particular form of denial or a non-particular form of denial. Particular, kind of as Farah was alluding to, chair, swan, sun, whatever, any sort of object in the universe that you can point to. if I said today that there's no sun on this day at this time, I can demonstrate it external from my statement, so to speak. I can show, or I can go and point to the sky and either point to the absence of the sun or the existence of the sun. But if I say there is no sun and just leave it at that, then without it being defined, you can't prove it. Because by definition, to prove something in this world, it needs to be specified. And by definition, if you're talking about some sort of object, belief is like that, because if you deny something, because belief pertains to the very nature of the entirety of the universe, past, present, and future, in a sense. All you need is one example to affirm the necessity of belief. And that's the strength of belief. It just needs one example or one demonstration. Whereas denial, in a sort of in a quote unquote non-particular way, if you say in my, as he says, my opinion, that's what it comes down to. In my view or my opinion, I don't believe or I don't accept the truth. You can't say that in actuality, because it requires you, that statement in and of itself requires you to examine every point in the universe. That's what I think he means by multiplicity. It requires you to examine every point at every time the universe has and is and will ever exist. So you can't prove it in actuality. It just becomes your opinion, because you can't affirm it at all. There's no sort of support. Whereas belief, the result is one and single in the case of affirmation, because you only need one example to affirm the truth. And then therefore every other examples support and are supported by one another. So that's the nature of belief versus denial. So I think that's what I took away from that.
Thank you, Suhail. So one thing, there are two things. Like, one is the particularized aspect of things. So that one, I think I understand, because when you just show the matter as it is, that's easy to affirm, and denial is pretty much, either it's not possible or it doesn't work really, because you have to go through everything. As he says, you have to hunt exhaustively and look for an example, right? But the author mostly talks about a particular aspect of things. Like, the examples he gives is the existence of a thing in the world, and when he points at the moon, or you gave the example of the sun, that is a particular point. And he does make the non-particularized is denial cannot be proven. He made a statement, because it's non-particular. What are we talking about? There's nothing to, there's no particular thing to talk about. So what is there to prove or not prove?
Just like non-existence.
But I see Brother Ali's hand is up.
Like non-existence?
So for you have a question before you?
I'm asking you. Denial like non-existence?
Okay, we'll get there, but let's hear from Brother Ali. Please go ahead, Brother Ali. You're muted, Brother Ali.
Just you carry on, I will come back.
Yeah.
We love you to talk. Thank you. Okay. So Faria, you have a question?
Yeah, you were saying that denial is basically nothing to prove. That's non-particular.
So let's talk about
Particularized.
particular. That's easy to do.
So like you said, the moon or the sun is, yeah, I can, it's right there. You want to see it, okay, go outside.
Right. So it's something you can just point to it. That
Mhm.
is a particular thing. So that is good, easy to affirm, and
Mhm.
is very difficult to
Deny it.
deny that.
Okay.
That, hey, I don't believe that the sun exists
Right. That's
at this point,
nonsense.
because you can
then.
just point to it.
Yeah. So denial is like something that does not exist to me. Like it's like a lie. It's like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
it's a lie. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Okay.
And another thing was, I was also wondering, why would I do that in terms of denial? And I think this, I don't know, it points back to sincerity, because the author says, since those who negate and deny do not regard the matter as it is, but judge rather in the light of their own souls and their own intelligence and vision, as if, like it's my something, there's something going on within, like my opinion.
So it's a
or,
personal judgment, right? In their own souls, everything is within. So it's not something external, as Suhail was talking about. Like the existence of the sun is something external.
Hmm.
You just point to it, and that proves that that is true. The point that the sun is there, versus if I engage my opinion, my something that's within, I make it something within me, that this is based on my logical reasoning, my intelligence, then the author says that at least it becomes a personal opinion. It's no longer
Like a denial is a personal opinion. What becomes personal opinion? Oh my god.
there are a lot of hands up. So we'll pick Brother Adam first, and then we'll pick Farah. So Adam, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm trying to follow a few things. One, of course, is why is it that something particular cannot be denied, but that same argument is not applied on the other side? So can one make an belief or affirmation on something, but it is particular, that which is particular? Okay, so someone makes an affirmation which is particular. No one can deny it in a non-particular way, is what I understand. And we said, why? Because this person is using his own reasoning. I'm trying to understand why the affirmation part could not be argued as being his own reasoning. And also, why is two needed for affirmation? Why isn't it just one?
Okay, good questions. And Farah, can you go ahead?
I had a somewhat of a different question, but I think in the effort to just sort of address the questions at hand, to Adam's question about like why affirmation, can you repeat that? Sorry, like something about like why.
Yeah, I think he's asking why is it too necessary to affirm? Not why not just one? And Adam, you can chip in and chime in to clarify that.
Yeah, it was two questions, if I understand my questions correctly. One is why is the negator, the denier, why is he dismissed? Because he's using his own reasoning to deny it. But the affirmer is not dismissed, saying he doesn't have his own reasoning
Right.
to affirm. The second question is, it seems to be saying about two needed, or maybe not needed, but two. He references two. I'm just wondering why it's two. Why it's not even one? Then, if based on the argument that's being made.
So with regards to the first one, I would say it's because I think when you use the word reasoning, that's not what the author is doing. The author, when it comes to affirming the existence of something, says that there is proof for the existence of that thing. Like, for example, when there's a moon in the sky, the affirmer is not using something of their own opinion in order to prove that the moon exists. He points at the moon. So the evidence for it exists external to the opinion, let's say, of the affirmer. Whereas in the person who is denying a denying something, their evidence does not exist outside of their opinion. There's no sort of manifestation of denial, let's say, in that case. And with regards to the second one, I guess maybe in this example there are two people, but I would say perhaps like for example, when it concerns belief, if someone is, I'm sure for our experience in this world to be validated, there is a collective experience, something becomes collective for one to be reaffirmed of what they're experiencing. But as I understand, even if, let's say, you think 2 + 2 is 4 and everybody else says it's not, but because you have evidence that you have proved, is evidence enough for you to believe in it?
Thank you, Farah. I think that made sense. Because the thing is, so let me address the second one from Brother Adam's question, as you said. So the evidence is out there, and the example you used about the moon. So you cannot change that evidence. That's there. It's external to one. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 10 or doesn't really. But the thing is, the evidence still stays the same. And if I show the point to the moon and affirm it, and somebody else also says, yeah, the moon is in the sky, that is an affirmation of two people, but the evidence is still the same, single and one. This, I think, when the author kind of makes a statement, the result is one and single in the case of affirmation, and every instance of affirmation supports all other instances. So that kind of makes sense.
It's external. It's external. It's not my opinion.
Yeah, and Brother Ali, please go ahead.
I'm trying to really relate it to my real living conditions. So now, if I hold something in my hand, and if I say, this is a pen, or pencil, doesn't matter, pen, and another person looks at it, no, I don't think it is a pen, it looks like a nail. But the other one says, no, it looks like a piece of branch of a wood or something. But the proof of this is a simple example. I'm aware of it, very simple. Proof of this, they can claim anything, but they cannot prove unless by demonstration. How is it? I take this thing in my hand and start writing it. That is the definition of a pen. So I proved it. Another person comes, and another person comes, oh, they write it. Oh, they say, oh, this is a pen. This is a pen. This is the description of the pen, which writes. It is writing. It is writing. Okay. But disbeliever, the deniers, because the denying is only possible within a particular area, like that. This is not a pen. You can say it, but you cannot prove it. If it is wrong, if it is right, you can prove it. For example, there is no chair in my room. Here is my room. Definition is this. Chair is this. Define it. And come to the room and look at it right now and search everywhere. So you can prove that there is no chair. You can prove it. In this case, in particular case, denial is possible, negation is possible to prove in material senses. But in matters related to belief, the subject is not that simple, denying and confirming. I can think of it only in these terms for the moment. For example, if someone says a particle has consciousness, that is what is going on in the world now. The particle has consciousness. Look, it is acting this way, this way, this way. And that means it has consciousness, it has will, etc. But can you show it whether it itself has will? Is itself has consciousness? No. From the inferences that this is acting in this way, so it must be according to me. It must have, according to me, consciousness. It must have, another person may say, it must have, according to me, again, consciousness. Can you prove it? No, because consciousness cannot be proven. On the other hand, as far as using the word, the universe, we have to bear in mind this subject is not an easy subject. It is the matter of induction, which is very famous in philosophy. And it is not easy. I'm sure you are aware of it. So it's the problem of induction that is discussed a lot. But as far as belief matters are concerned, and as far as bringing evidence for the belief matters is concerned, we have to be aware that we can only use the universe, as an evidence for belief matters. Belief what? Belief in the absolute being. So this is a belief matter in the absolute being. But we have to be careful. I'm sorry if I'm going to speak a lot. We have to be careful. Materialist people don't believe in the absolute being which doesn't belong to this universe. It means not within the capacity of this universe. So, as far as belief in the absolute being is concerned, no one can tell me or challenge me by saying that, show it to me. Where? In the universe. Because materialism is based on the evidence which is available within the universe. So they can ask only the demonstration of it. They can ask only the evidence for it within the universe. Whereas I can demonstrate my belief in the absolute being by way of another type, which is there is no source of existence within the universe. So universe and all its ingredients, if you like, contents, whatever it is, all the qualities of the things do not come from this universe. Any part of this universe or anything of this universe, but they come, if not from the universe, there must be somewhere else, something else. That's my claim. As far as the usage of evidence is concerned, using the evidence is concerned for belief matters, we can only talk about bringing evidence within the universe as not being the creator, not having the quality of creator, source of existence. But this is only possible by demonstrating that these things do not have consciousness, free will, choice, therefore choice, wisdom, knowledge, this kind of things. So what can we do in this sense? We can only say that these things do not have knowledge, do not have freedom, because they are totally subject to the order of the universe. They cannot do anything except following the order of the universe, which I have demonstrated. They are following the order of the universe. They don't have any free will to get out of the order of the universe. I can say, here it is in the lab, because of this order of the universe, they cannot do anything other than where they are created, which kind of qualities they are given, and they cannot have any free will, any knowledge that they can get out of the order of the universe. There are, of course, we know that with this pattern of thinking is taught by the Quran, La ilaha illallah. There is no free choice in this universe that can act freely on his own volition, according to his own knowledge, wisdom, seeing or thinking of the past and the future and adjusting itself accordingly. So what we can do, we can have another verse again showing us the way. No one can get out of the limits of this world, which is very famous verse in Surah Rahman. But illa bi'idhnillah, bisultan. So no one can get out of this universe. What normally people may not understand this verse, saying that you cannot get out of the universe, which I don't understand this verse in this sense. You cannot get out of the order of the universe. You are subjected to the order of the universe. Now, see the difference. Still, I cannot get out of the universe means I cannot get out of the order of the universe. The way I am created and the way I am confined with, I cannot really go out of my confinement, my capacity, whatever I have been given. Anything of the universe, not only human beings, anything of the universe cannot get out of the order of the universe, which the order imposes on it, on the thing itself, and it has to follow the order of the universe. It is slave of the order of the universe. That means it doesn't have free will, it doesn't have his own knowledge, it is just acting as it is made. Now, I think Suhail is the expert on finding out this verse. Illa bisultan, Rahman, chapter Rahman.
I'm looking for it now, but it's
I mean,
لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان.
yeah, إلا بسلطان. لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. Yeah. When I don't remember the beginning of the verse, when I think about it, it doesn't come.
من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون.
Okay, go. Just put the translation or original, which is good. Okay, not all these verses. So, لا تنفذوا. Not that one. 55:33. Okay, share it. Yes, 55 is Rahman. 33. All right. Here we go. Yeah. Somebody can read it.
So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان.
Yeah, the translation.
O company of jinn and man, if you are able to pass beyond the regions of the heavens and the earth, then pass. You will not be able to pass except by authority.
Our authority. Yeah, it means if the Creator doesn't give you equality, you cannot have it. Why? Because you are bound by the order of the universe, which means ultimately order of the universe, the will of the order of the universe. You don't have it. Nothing has it. Of course, the Quran speaks in the very simple and here is jinn and ins. What are they? The human beings cannot go beyond their capacity. They cannot really change their potentialities. They have to follow the order of the universe in order to be able to do anything. Anything I have to follow. I seem to have a free will. Yes, I have a free will to follow this order or another order. I cannot do anything by not following the order of the universe. That means I can demonstrate it. Look, this thing in the lab, this thing only does this action by following the order of the universe. It means order of the universe has been established by something that everything in the universe is subject to this order. As far as I can see, as far as I can examine in this world. So proving is like showing the moon in the sky. Here it is, there is no free will as you claim it. They are following the order. They cannot get out of the order. Now they are subject to the order. They have no free will. So they are made in this way because they cannot choose anything what they want. Whereas their existence is preference. It means they don't have to exist by themselves, but they are given this status within the universe. So they cannot create anything, as the Quran simply puts it. They cannot create anything while you know that they are in need of being created, given existence. Because if I cannot give existence to anything, it means I cannot give existence to myself as well. So how about my already existing situation, position? It is not from me. It is given to me, exactly like the other stuff in the universe, everything in the universe. They are all given to me. I understand this demonstrative belief, which means confirmative belief, as within the universe, as an indication that the things are not the creators. The things cannot choose. The things cannot know by themselves. So there is an option, only option now left out. I say, okay, the universe needs to be given existence. That is why in our discussions, we always use these expressions. The things need to be given existence. They cannot act on their own. Only they follow the order. Even human beings have free will to choose. They choose only from among given order conditions, or the given conditions of the order. They cannot act by themselves. These are very fundamental expressions that it is driven from the teachings of the Quran. But if you say, for example, the verse we discussed, now, the human beings cannot get out of the limits of this universe. Jinn, I don't know what are they. The Quran says jinn, but I don't know what are they. It means anything of the universe, whether you see it, you don't see it, whatever it is, anything of this universe. Of course, for example, I have my mind, I don't see it. There are many kinds of creation in the world. So human beings specifically mentioned because you can use yourself as a criterion. And jinn is used for anything within the universe, anything. It means whatever you know, you see. This is the tree, okay. How about the way the tree grows? You can say this is the mysterious side of it. Okay, you can say jinn. Jinn means something covered up, not physically experienced. So I'm not saying there is no such particular being. There are many particular beings, not only the common people understand jinn. There are many particular beings, for example, covered up. It means not materially observable. Ruh, mind, feelings, or the meaning. These are, or how do you say, the meaning that we extract from the universe. They are all particular creatures, although I cannot define them in material terms. So I use this in general. So, aktar samawat wal ard, beyond it is used here, beyond the realms of the heavens. I understand realms of the heavens, the whole universe, which is represented by the whole order of the universe, the way the universe has been established, the way the universe has been given existence. All its qualities that we observe, they are all given. We understand that none of the parts of this universe can act independently from the order, the way they are made. They are given existence. That is how I understand this induction problem. Thank you very much. I know I was going to speak a lot, but this is the huge subject.
Jazakallah, Brother Ali. Thank you. So there are a few comments. Fariha, can you read your comments, please?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this whole negation part of things, how when we explore the universe, trying to find the source of its existence or questioning existence in general, we go through negation, that this cannot be the source of power that I observe. This cannot be the source of mercy, or this cannot have conscious will on its own. So through this negation, then we can conclude, or that's or proving that the universe cannot exist on its own, and really like being more comfortable with everything isn't need to be given existence, and things are preferred to be given existence. So and I think I'm glad, I mean, for whatever was shared right now, because yeah, I was wondering also, like, what am I gonna do with all these proofs? Good to know, like, but how does it apply to my practical side, with all the interactions within, I don't even want to call it my feelings, because I don't even know, it's like a messenger is being communicated to me. So like, what do I do with that? And so we use this anything in the universe as evidence, with consciousness, sense of anything, any feeling or emotion. So it's evidence to conclude and be certain of an absolute being, that there must be a necessarily existent one communicating with me.
So you emphasized on the process of negation, the La ilaha illallah,
Exactly,
as a means to confirm, as a proof,
right?
When you investigate the thing and confirms one's fate.
Like, there's no other way I can go on without La ilaha. There's no other way to confirm an absolute source of existence.
Okay, thank you. So I know Suhail had some comments. So Suhail, would you want to go take care of them? I know there were some in between and earlier.
Well, nothing that hasn't already been said. Dr. Ali already answered most of them. I just wanted to add, one thing. I find it interesting, like somebody who says that things are ordering themselves or acting on their own. Maybe they do or do not realize it, but there's a sort of self-contradiction in there, in that they, on one hand, they're, may claim to be a materialist philosopher. So they're saying, I only accept or acknowledge the material world. But on the other hand, they're talking about order, which you can't materially demonstrate. You can't materially demonstrate will, can't materially demonstrate regularity, or cause and effect. There's no material demonstration of that. So, to deny is sort of, as Nursi puts it, it's in my opinion, because you don't have any, you can't externally demonstrate will. It doesn't materially exist, or order. There's order, but it's a quote unquote sort of, abstraction, a reality, in the sense that you perceive it just like you perceive anything that's meaningful, but you can't actually demonstrate it physically, because by its very nature, it's not physical. So that's where the contradiction is. And, somebody who denies, the only thing he can say is it's in my opinion, because he doesn't have any sort of validity to show that order exists materially out there, and that order is intrinsic to things. So that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you, Suhail, for adding that. Because when Brother Ali was giving the example of the particle having consciousness, that statement, how do you prove that? And if you take it to a lab, there's an order how the particle is going to act or behave in that. But how do you prove that order? That's where, in my opinion, would kind of come into play. And I know this needs some thought process, but if there's anybody else who wants to make any last comments, because we are at time right now. Okay, we'll continue inshallah next week. But Sohail, go ahead, please.
I know over time, just the last thing. Somebody who believes, they, affirm there's order, but the affirmation is in that order doesn't have a material existence in this world, in the sense that it's not intrinsic to particles. That's the affirmation. So I guess you could say, in a way, just like, if you went to a room and there was no chair and you demonstrated its absence, you take something in the lab, or just, that's I guess scientific, but in your everyday life, just what you experience, and you examine it, you can't actually demonstrate. You demonstrate the absence of will or order intrinsic to the thing, and therefore that will is beyond the nature of the universe.
Sohail, can you clarify that? What do you mean by intrinsic to the thing? So not belonging to the thing, right?
Yeah, so like the sun, rises from the east, but I can't really ascribe the will of the sun rising to the sun itself. That's impossible. Or to gravity, or to the earth, or to anything else. So I know that there's a will there. Even the materials philosopher acknowledges that. That's why they call it order. That's why they study the universe. But he's trying to, or the materials philosopher is trying to demonstrate it in reality, in what I mean by reality, like the physical world. But it's not there, because if it were there, it would be as obvious as the sun itself. It would be obvious, but because it's not physical, you can only demonstrate the absence of it intrinsic to the thing itself, and therefore that the will doesn't belong to the sun, but belongs to the one who created the sun along with the universe it's in. That's why belief is not negated or mitigated or weakened by thousands or millions or billions of people's opinion regarding denial.
Got it. Thank you so much, Sohail. Anybody else who wants to make any comments before we close the session, inshallah? Yes, H-Besa, go ahead.
I'm sorry. One last comment. Well, my first comment externally, but in such a case, then, like, demonstrating the absence of something is a form of negation, isn't it? Because then, for example, in saying, la ilaha, that there is nothing within the universe that can have the quality of, for example, existence inherent to it. So, in other words, proving the necessity of such a thing, but at the same time proving the presence of the absence, or the lack of it within the object itself, then becomes a form of negation in which looks to affirmation. Because in saying, look, there's nothing within the universe with such a quality, yes, there is a sort of negation there, but there is still something external to oneself that one is pointing to prove the existence of something else, which then becomes an instance where negation is used for affirmation.
Yep, that's right. In that negation is the affirmation, and Suhail says, who said that? Yes, affirmation negation, correct. Thank you for that comment as well. Okay, inshallah, so we'll stop here, inshallah, and continue next week. Thank you very much for everyone for their comments. It was a very exciting discussion. I loved it, alhamdulillah. Very exciting. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha.